Hi folks, and welcome to Tech with Troy. Today we're going to cover the unboxing, or should I say unbagging, of a Teclast F5 that we ordered from Banggood.com. Now if you remember, we ordered this a little bit more than a month ago, and it did come from China. It's sort of interesting. You can see it here. It's one of the first packages I've ever got that has both China Post and the U.S. Postal Service on it. And it seems to be in a bag. Inside the bag I can feel the ribbed styrofoam packaging, and then I suspect that there'll be a box inside that. So let's go ahead and get started. By the way, as we open this up, I'm not at all surprised that it took that long to get here. It just makes sense for Chinese companies, if they're going to send to the U.S., to wait and batch things so that they come in sort of the optimal shipping size, if you will. Very interesting packaging. like the bag just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger the more stuff that we open up. And sure, oh, it wasn't styrofoam, but it's the plastic, ribbed plastic inflatable packing material. Now, that's sort of interesting. It looks like the laptop itself is inside a box, but over here on the side, if you'll notice, it looks like there's a power adapter. You know what I wouldn't be surprised to find is that it, since it was being shipped to the U.S., maybe it contains a different type of AC adapter inside, and they just slipped that inside the packing material because sort of as a courtesy, if you will. Now, one thing we should note is that this laptop isn't actually available in the U.S. yet. There are Teclast tablets and laptops for sale on Amazon, and you can find them on different Chinese resellers like Banggood.com. But we don't really see this in the U.S. yet. We just hope it to be here soon. This isn't actually a AC adapter. What it is, it's a converter, right? So it's to take a one of the three-prong plugs or a European plug or just about any international plug and convert it into a U.S. So I'm not going to fault them for that. I definitely wouldn't be part of it, but I'm interested to see what type of AC adapter we have inside the box. A little bit of dings on the box. You can see here it's been caved in a little bit. The box itself feels really solid though, and I don't think that there's any risk of anything inside being damaged, so let's go ahead and open it up. As we've seen with a couple of other Chinese products, very good packaging. It's almost origami-like in terms of opening stuff up. So let's see what's in this little package here. That's our documentation. And then let's open this part up here. Yep. That's a little bit interesting. So they did send us what looks like a European or Asian power adapter. Let me take it out of the bag here and show it to you. So it's got the, sorry, we're getting a lot of glare off the lights there, but it's got the two pronged power adapter, and that's why they included that converter. It is USB-C, and you certainly could use it like that, but luckily we have lots of other USB-C adapters. And I would suspect that if you order this machine from Amazon or Best Buy here in the United States, it's going to come with the American adapter. Now, let's see. Man, there's a lot of packaging material here, and it actually feels like all of this stuff over here is, I don't know what's in there. It actually feels like it's just padding. So maybe this right here, yep, is the laptop. Feels nice and heavy, feels fairly solid. And there we have it. So we went ahead and removed the packaging material and put it out to where we can see the Teclast F5. Now the nice thing about this machine, it's a small 11.6 inch form factor, but it does have a HD screen. Comes with an N4100 Gemini Lake processor, but it comes with 8 gig of DDR RAM, and as you can sort of tell here from the bottom of the laptop, if I hold it up closer, there we go, there's a little panel for replacing the SSD. So it's going to be very interesting to see exactly sort of how capable this type of machine is. Now, it seems to be a really solid laptop. It actually reminds me a lot of, and I know everybody says this, but a lot of a MacBook Air, but at a smaller form factor. So we're going to go ahead and strip off the plastic. There's plastic all over this thing. We open it up, and sure enough, there's a little fiber cloth separator. There's a screen protector on the screen. But likewise, around the back and the front, they've actually got some sort of plastic cover on it that we want to pick off here. Let's see if we can get it without being too disruptive. There it comes. So it's almost like a screen protector itself, but it's, like I said, it's covering the back and the front of this little laptop. Simply stuck on that. And then the same thing on the top here. And like I said, when I opened up the box was dinged up a little bit. But to be honest, between the sort of thickness of the padding and the all these screen protector-like things that they put around it, this is actually a fairly well-protected laptop here. Now, one of the nice things is that there's little, it's hard to see here, but there's little rubber bumpers. There's one here, and then there's two up here, which should keep the screen from sort of closing too much, and it'll hold it up off of the keyboard, so you won't get the, the marks, not permanent marks, but little rubber rubbings, if you will, on the screen. Okay, so let's go ahead and charge this thing, and then we'll have a brief review. Okay, folks, while this thing is charging, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the ports. It does come with USB-C, and I've got a USB-C adapter plugged into it. I've actually got it turned around backwards because of where my USB-C is, so it's actually on the right-hand side. On the left-hand side, there's a volume rocker and the on-off button, which from previous videos you will have remembered, I think, that I'm a fan of actually having a button on the side. As long as it's not intrusive, and it's towards the back. It's sort of hard to see here, but it's right there, and then the volume rocker is right here. That does actually make a lot of sense on a two-in-one product like this. Other than that, the only ports, if you will, on this side at all, there's a headphone jack, and then a little bit hard to see given the fact that my webcam doesn't really want to focus on it, but there's a little microphone hole. And it's actually nice because it has a little symbol of a microphone telling you what that is. In terms of on the side with the charger, these are actual real ports, so a little bit easier to see. There is a micro SD slot right there, and then there is a micro USB slot, another microphone, and these are not microphone in-outs, these are actually microphone holes for the microphones. And then what looks like a micro HDMI in addition to the USB-C. Now, not as many ports maybe as you'd like, but to be quite honest, again, this is a really small 11.6 inch laptop, and it's a little bit dense, feels to be a couple of pounds, 2.5 pounds or so, but given the size, you're not going to be able to get very many ports on it. So let me unplug the USB-C rather than jerking it around. Like we said, it is a two-in-one, and really folds over nicely. Once we get it charged, it'll be interesting to see exactly how good this thing is. Now, you can see a little bit, there is a slight bezel around it, and they've, I won't say they've cheated a little bit, but they have basically made the bezel glossy black, if you will, to try to make it blend in, but you can see how big it is. The other thing is towards the bottom there's an enormous bezel, and I think the reason they did that is, as you can see, the webcam is over here off to the bottom right. So when you're using this thing in laptop mode, you're going to get the up the nose aspect, or under the chin aspect, from having the webcam down here. That's unfortunate. And we'll go ahead and pause it and come back in with our first impressions once we've actually got this thing powered up. Okay folks, so we got this thing to take at least a partial charge. I've turned off some of the lights to try to reduce some of the glare, so I apologize if the picture's a little bit dark. Couple of interesting things as we boot it up. First of all, unlike every other new machine I've ever seen, they actually have, and I hope you'll see this as it comes up, but they actually have an account with the name of PC already installed, which apparently is, they've chosen not to have a login. So when you boot this thing up, it's actually going to hit the Windows Start screen, and then the PC account grabs it and boots straight into Windows. Now the other thing I will mention, and I don't know that this is something to be alarmed about. Yep, you might hear the beeps. Now, if it proceeds like it did before, and what it's doing is it's seeing the other devices that are actually on my USB-C adapter. I'm going to give it a couple of seconds. Almost as much fun as watching paint dry, isn't it? Now, as before, it did eventually find them. And what I was going to say is that I'm not actually going to hold this against the laptop. I'm using this little adapter that both takes USB-C power delivery, but also will take HDMI, and then it has 3 USB ports on this side, a full-size SD card slot. So I think all of those oral notifications as it was booting up were it finding those ports and adding them to its list. I don't expect to see that when I use the adapter it came with, or if I use just a straight adapter that does not always have pass-throughs to USB ports, HDMI, and so forth. Now we will try to be good about getting back with a deeper dive into it. But to start with, some things just to note. First of all, the keys have a pretty good amount of travel. Again, they remind me of, no, I don't want to do sticky keys. They remind me of the same types of keyboards that you see on Acer and other types of Asian manufacturers. There is half height on the function keys, but there are function keys. Likewise, the left and right arrow is fairly large, and then the up and down arrow are sized so that vertically they're only half as big, but so it fits within that little rectangle there. I like the fact that there's a power indicator. Not sure what the other indicators here on. You can see the blue light for the power indicator. It's number pad and caps lock on. Haven't tried, obviously, the webcam. The screen looks really nice. It's fairly bright, and I think even in somewhat bright sunlight, it'd still be viewable. One of the things I'm going to have to do, though, is set this thing up with an account for me. Now, when you boot it up, it does seem to have not much garbage wear on it. The only icons I see are for this PC, Recycle Bin, Google Chrome, and Microsoft Edge. And I actually like the fact that they installed Google Chrome for us. When I click on the Start menu, there are a lot more things here. It looks like there's at least a trial version of Windows, or excuse me, of Microsoft Office, because I see Access. Candy Crush, which we don't really need. Feedback Hub, Fitbit Coach. So there's a lot more garbageware, if you will, here. There is Minecraft for Windows 10, and again, I haven't logged into my account, so none of these are from me. And then a bunch of other programs. There's an icon for Netflix, icon for sticky notes, icons for several apps, Photastic Collage, for instance. And I'll have to check and see which of these actually come with a laptop and which of them are just there as sort of placeholders. Obviously, it is touchscreen, and like we've shown before, it is 2-in-1. Now, one of the things I want to mention is I think we paid just under $300 for this laptop, and it's actually a fairly decent price, particularly given that it's got a touchscreen. Like we said, it comes with 8 gig of RAM, and it has a 2-in-1 form factor. It's hard to find a decent machine here in the United States that comes with those same parts. So we'll have to see if it's worth it, but given the feature set up front, we definitely thought it was, and that's one of the reasons that we decided to go ahead and pursue this. Sorry, turning and moving it actually caused my HDMI to switch over to the other, to try to switch here to the laptop. So if you hear some sounds in the background, that's me getting HDMI back so I can actually see the controller from my webcam. Just while we've got it up and running, let's go ahead and check. We're going to go ahead and go into settings, system. Seems fairly snappy. Resolution is set to 1920 x 1080, which is what we would hope. And let's see, let's go to about the computer just to make sure that we did get our 8 gig of RAM that we were supposed to get. Yep, Intel Celeron N4100. Installed RAM reading is 7.84. It has the 64-bit version of Windows. It is Windows 10 Home. And one of the things we'll do is we'll go through it and we'll do all the updates, because undoubtedly, with this thing taking over a month to get to us, there are a bunch of updates pending on this particular system. And we'll follow this up with a deeper dive, if you will, video down the road. But for right now, $300, touchscreen, relatively fast processor, faster than the older Celerons, that's for sure, 8 gig of RAM, and the ability to possibly update the SSD. Definitely looks like an interesting machine. By the way, it does seem it's either metallicized plastic or all metal. I suspect, knowing Teclast products from the past, that it's actually all metal, and it's really sturdy. I'll be honest, there's very few machines I'm not a fan of, and you've probably already picked that up in the reviews. But this one, I think, is definitely worth a look. And as we learn more about it, we'll make sure to pass it on to you. Take care, and as always, if you've appreciated this video, we would appreciate it in turn if you would like and subscribe to the channel. Take care.